How's it going, everybody? This is Jesse Choate, aka Chief Wiggum. I just won the Luxury Goat tournament with Warrior, and I was just going to give a quick rundown of the deck and kind of explain some of the card choices. For the most part, here it's your standard Warrior toolbox. I just think it's one of the better decks in the format. Your Rhodas here get you pretty much whatever you need to deal with any situation. You're very fast and aggressive. You can run people down really quick, and then you can just get those crazy warrior opening hands where it's almost like an auto win. Maybe games 2 and 3 you have some dust shoots in there. Maybe you have a duo or something, and your opponent is just left with no defense, and you just summon all your guys and kill them. I expected to play mostly mirrors actually, and I didn't until top 4. So you'll see in my card choices some of the decks I played a lot of cards for, some of the cards that I really didn't play, decks I didn't really think I'd play against, that type of thing. So I'm just going to run through it real quick. We got a BLS. I don't play Chaos Monsters, right? I just play the Call and the Premature here. I think these are better in the Warrior deck. Chaos Monsters can be kind of hard to summon, and you don't want cards in your hand that aren't playable. That sucks. Yeah, you don't want cards in your hand that aren't playable. So by getting stuck with Chaos Monsters, you're not able to draw more traps to protect your monsters or more monsters to kill them. So that's why I don't really like Chaos Sorcerer in the Warrior deck. Sasuke's great. Some people cut him. I like him. He's light. He's 18, which is a relevant number. But he's just your Rhoda out to spy, or people who are dumb enough to put Chaos Sorcerer in defense against you, if that's a thing that people still do. Kills face-up Spirit Reapers. It's just a tool you want to have. Don Zalug, he's the man. Once you start getting in with him, the game's basically over. So, DD Warrior Lady and Exiled is your most generic removal here. Crazy cards. Exiled has the extra synergy with that, so I can use them, a couple times. Get rid of, pretty much whatever I need to. Mystic Swordsman level 2, I've seen decks play 0, 1, 2, and 3. It just really depends on how much chaos you think you're going to play against. If you think you're going to play all chaos, you could load up on this bad boy. But if you think you're going to play all mirrors, you don't play them at all. So I thought I was going to play a good amount of mirrors. I still wanted him in my deck because I knew I'd play against chaos too for sure. So just the one up there, but you have the Rhodas and everything. So you find him when you need him. I felt like I got a little too greedy with him over the course of the tournament though. So when you're making those decisions to Rhoda for your Swordsman or your Blade Knight, really think it through, because sometimes it's not as obvious as you would think it is. And him only being 900, you're killing the face down every turn, but if they're not setting anything, you're not pressuring them that hard. So just really think when to grab him over the Blade Knight and vice versa. Zombira the Dark, my man. I think this card's a staple in Warrior decks, but absolutely no one plays him except for me. This guy is crazy good. First of all, he's a dark, which this deck already kind of struggles with outside of Dawn, right? If you don't play Zombira, you can Rhoda for Dawn, which is your dark, but that's pretty much it. So he's the extra dark right there, which is great. Granted, I don't play more Chaos Sorcerers or anything, but I don't want to have to rely on drawing Breaker or Kaiku just to make it live. So that extra dark is nice. The 2100, right, is where he's crazy good. That number is important in a lot of different ways that people might not think about. So firstly, similar to Sasuke in a lot of aspects, he can clear face-up Spy just right off the bat. Defense mode Chaos Sorcerer, whatever. He's big, right? He can just attack over most things. But he really, really, really shines in the mirror, because you can Rhoda for him to swing over a 2000 Blade Knight, whereas every other Warrior deck doesn't have that option available. And sure, he drops down to 19 after, but then they have to have another 2000 Blade Knight. So he's gonna stick around most of the time, and then next turn maybe he attacks over a Kaiku. So he's really good in the mirror. I can't explain enough how good this card is in the mirror. Especially now that Berserk Gorilla is gaining in popularity. Most Chaos decks are even siding in Berserk Gorilla against you. So you have that extra card in your main deck that deals with that. And if you don't, you have to get a 2k Blade Knight to crash a Berserk Gorilla. You don't really want to do that. Do you want to waste your Exiled Force on Berserk Gorilla? No, not really. DD Warrior Lady? No, not really. So this is great. And, you know, like against Chaos, you know, you kill their gorilla, they're probably setting monsters for a while. So he's still big enough to kill most sets for a couple turns. He's crazy good. Like, you should play him if you don't. Breaker, pretty standard here. Two Kaikus. You know, you could play three instead of the Berserk Gorilla. I thought I was going to play more mirrors, so I wanted that extra monster there. You know, you could main deck an Ashura Priest, I guess, if you wanted to. Just kind of comes down to that last slot. Tribe is absolutely standard. This card is crazy. Yeah, like you don't need to have a good discard for him because he's a smashing around or lightning vortex. Two Rotas, they get you whatever you want. Trinity, heavy MST, two books. These are like the 39th and 40th cards in the deck. Like book is just never good. I mean, like sometimes it's good, sure, but most of the time it's just average. But considering there's nothing else you really want to play, like two cards that are always playable, just seem fine. Two Noblemen, of course. Strong Noblemen feels so good in this deck because you know you're just going to press for so much damage. Snatch Steal, like, card's crazy. It's like a Trinity piece in the mirror, it feels like. Like Snatch Steal, you just steal a game. Ring and Mirror Force, super standard in Warrior. Torrential, some people still don't play Torrential in Warriors. I think this deck just has such a hard problem when you're behind. You need to play like any type of comeback card you can. So Torrential's good, especially, you know, let's say you're like Thousand Eyes locked and they got a Tsukiyomi going. You know, you just clear that up, and now, you know, if you're able to summon a 2000 Blade Knight or like a Kaiku after that can get in, like now you're in the driver's seat. Three Sakuretsu, it's entirely possible that there's some combination of this and Widespread Ruin where the number should be changed around, like two Widespreads of one Saku or whatever. But there's times when Widespread doesn't actually do the same thing as Sakuretsu, so I just wanted, I guess, the consistency in that sense. But it's totally possible that it should be like 2 and 1 or something in the event of like I go up against a King Dragoon or something. Three Solemns, great card in Warrior. You know, Call the Haunted kind of explained that premature. You can do some other tricks with Call though that you can't with premature, and that's like a preemptive call on Kaiku to block a Chaos monster. Two Dust Tornadoes, just more copies of MST. This deck just wants to like clear their back row and attack with your monsters. Because if your attacks are going through uninterrupted, you're probably winning the game. So for my side deck, 2 copies of Ashura Priest. I thought this was going to be a lot better against Scapegoat decks than it was. I played like 4 Scapegoat decks throughout the course of the tournament, and this card was just like average at best, if not like sub-average. So I definitely cut it to 1 after this, if played at all. Berserk Gorilla, another copy. It's for the mirror, or like stuff where you just need more beaters. You know, for the mirror, you just swap out the swordsman for him. It's a clean trade. The reason I don't side another one is just like side space. I didn't want to overside for a lot of matchups because I'm already playing so many cards for the mirror. Chiron the Mage. This was my concession to like decks where I really needed back row removal, like Burn, like decks that are going to play Royal Decree, Level Limit, that type of thing. I didn't really want to respect them a whole lot in the tournament. I figured they would weed themselves out, and like if I play one round 1 or something, like just hope to beat them. Because I am maining Dust Tornadoes and stuff already, so it's totally conceivable that I could. But I just didn't want to have like a ton of stuff for it in my side deck, like some people have, and like not play any. And it's like, oh hey, 4 cards in my side deck are dead. So this was the back removal card I decided to play instead of like Mobius or something. Where Mobius can pop 2, he can theoretically pop 2, you know, maybe even 3, but you don't need a tribute for him. He's an 1800 beater once he, you know, clears through whichever card you need to get rid of, you know, and, you know, starts getting it in. You can do stuff where you call him and premature him back, pop another card. So this was the card that I played. I think it's pretty solid. 2 Smashing Rounds, another card for the mirror, another card for like aggro decks and whatnot. Usually my plan against like any other aggressive type of deck for the most part is just have more removal than they do, right? If I stop every single one of your attacks, or, you know, like pop your monster basically every single time, eventually I'm going to be able to hit you more than you hit me. and that's like what the mirror comes down to most of the time, unless it's like a weird game where you guys solemn each other super low, like right off the bat. It's more or less like who can hit who with the bigger stick. Well, if you can't hit me at all, I should win. To my body. So this kind of had the same logic, right? If they're trying to stop me from hitting them with a stick, I want to have a card that stops that. So it's really good in the mirror in that aspect. It's really good when you can get an Exile the Force with it, because they just wasted their normal summon. But this card also came in against the Chaos decks that played through Regeki Break, and then I knew had some number of Sakuretsu armors or like widespreads in their deck, like especially after siding, because you can just get them in that way too. Because Chaos, if you're attacking their set monsters uninterrupted, you're usually winning the game. So this just lets it push through that much easier. 3 widespread for the mirror. Basically, aggro decks, whatnot, like I said, for like basically half my side deck, because I thought I would play a lot of them. Yep, 3 of these, because once everything kind of switches around after side, it's like, you're probably not going to successfully attack me. Yeah. 2 Curse Seal. This was my concession card for like the spell heavy combo decks. So you see I have like only 3 cards that were specifically for like stuff that I might not even play against. I played against one like spell heavy combo deck, and these came in. But it's here for like your Monster Gate decks, anything that really plays like Giant Trunade, Cold Wave, that type of thing. So you have these 2 with your 3 Solemn Judgments, and hopefully you're able to negate enough of their like crazy cards so you can just kill them. 2 Dust Shoot for a lot of those combo decks too, so you bring in a decent amount versus combo. But this card is mostly for like the Chaos Turbo decks. There's like trap heavier Chaos decks where this won't come in. But for the most part, if you're playing like standard Chaos Turbo, these are definitely coming in. But I do have a love-hate relationship with this card. Like, this card's either crazy or it sucks, and there's not really ever an in-between. But the fact that you can just blow people out turn 1 with it was reason enough to at least play 2 copies. So, yep, that's the deck here. Fusion deck's unlimited, so it doesn't really matter. Probably going to go back and watch all the replays from my rounds throughout the tournament and just kind of explain my thought process on some of this stuff, because I think I do take some pretty cool lines in a handful of the games there. Most of the time it's just your standard warrior beatdown, but it's those kind of crazier game states where you have to figure out, when to go on the offensive and when to not, and like how to clear certain boards or how to come from behind on certain boards. So I think just going through that and just kind of talking out my plays would be really cool for me personally, just to kind of look at my own thought process and see how I can improve there, and just kind of walk some people through how I play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Peace.